World War II was a storm of chaos, confusion, and unimaginable violence, but few moments were as shocking as the morning of November 7, 1944, when two powerful Allied nations, the United States and the Soviet Union, unknowingly turned their weapons against each other. As the German army retreated across the Balkans in disarray, Soviet forces surged forward through southern Serbia, liberating town after town, pushing north toward Belgrade. Near the city of Niš, the elite 6th Guards Rifle Corps, commanded by Lieutenant General Grigory Kotov, moved along the main highway, a long and vulnerable column of trucks, infantry, artillery, medics, and liaison units. The soldiers believed the skies above them were friendly, protected by air superiority and the growing collapse of Luftwaffe presence in the region. But overhead, approaching from the direction of Italy, was a squadron of 12 American P-38 Lightning fighters from the famed 82nd Fighter Group, led by the experienced and respected Colonel Clarence Curley Edwinson. Their orders were simple and aggressive: destroy any German forces retreating from Greece and Yugoslavia. Their intelligence briefing had not been updated. No one told them that Soviet troops had already advanced deep into the sector they were patrolling. So when the Americans saw a long military convoy moving northward, trucks, artillery, horse-drawn wagons, and columns of marching troops, everything matched the textbook description of a fleeing Wehrmacht formation. In that split second of war, with speed and certainty, the Americans believed they had found their target. Without hesitation, the P-38s broke formation, engines screaming downward, and unleashed a devastating first strike. In a rain of bullets, cannon fire, and explosions, Soviet soldiers were cut down before they could even comprehend what was happening. Red flags were waved desperately, officers shouted for cover, and anti-aircraft crews hesitated in disbelief, unable to accept that the aircraft attacking them bore the markings of their own allies. General Kotov himself was wounded, and within moments, dozens of Soviet soldiers lay dead on the roadside. The highway, once a road of victory, had become a killing ground, carved by friendly fire. At the nearby Niš airfield, Soviet pilots of the 866th Fighter Aviation Regiment heard the thunder of explosions and at first assumed the Germans had launched a final desperate attack. But when binoculars revealed the unmistakable twin-boom silhouettes of American P-38 Lightnings diving upon Soviet infantry, shock rippled across the airfield. In minutes, pilots scrambled into their Yak-3 and Yak-9 fighters, engines roaring to life as mechanics sprinted out of the way. The Yaks lifted into the sky with urgency and fury, racing toward the unfolding disaster. Above the burning column, the Americans were circling for another attack run, still unaware that they were killing their own allies. The moment the two forces met, confusion exploded into a short, furious dogfight unlike any seen before in the war. Soviet fighters struck first, diving at the P-38s with tight turns and short bursts of cannon fire. The Americans, stunned to see friendly insignia on their attackers, reacted instinctively, pulling into defensive maneuvers and returning fire in desperation. In the chaos, two Soviet fighters were shot down and spiraled into the earth, while a third was mistakenly destroyed by Soviet anti-aircraft guns that could no longer distinguish friend from foe. American aircraft were hit as well. At least one P-38 plummeted into the fields outside Niš, its pilot killed in a battle he never meant to fight. For a few long minutes, the sky above Niš became a tragic stage where allies battled allies, each believing the other had made some terrible betrayal. It was only when a bold Soviet pilot steered his Yak dangerously close to a P-38, close enough to see the white star on its wings, that the realization crashed over both sides at the aim instant. He rocked his wings in the universal signal of peace, and the American pilot, horrified, returned the gesture. The gunfire ceased almost immediately. The fighters broke apart, climbing into a stunned silence as smoke rose from the ruined road below. The truth swept through command posts within hours, and the diplomatic shock followed swiftly. Reports were rushed to Moscow, where Stalin demanded answers and accountability. From Washington, President Roosevelt and General Marshall prepared a formal apology, delivered by Ambassador Averell Harriman on December 14. Behind closed doors, both sides recognized the dangerous implications. A friendly fire tragedy in the final year of the war was painful enough, but an uncontained political misstep between two world powers powers could have crippled the fragile alliance holding the anti-Nazi coalition together. Stalin rejected further American liaison missions in the region and insisted that operational boundaries be crystal clear from that day forward. Yet, despite the diplomatic frost, both nations quietly understood that the incident must not derail the final push toward victory. And so, as the war moved toward its final battles, the Niš incident was quietly buried in archives, overshadowed by the gigantic tides of the war, forgotten by many, but never erased by those who lived through it. More than 75 years later, the tragedy stands as a stark reminder of the fog of war, the deadly speed of misunderstanding, the fragility of alliances, and how in one mistaken instant the machinery of conflict can turn friend into foe. On that cold morning in 1944, over the skies of southern Serbia, two Allied powers fought a battle they never intended, and history gained a haunting chapter: the day America and the Soviet Union went to war, if only for a moment, in the skies above Niš.